say one thing, like there's still with Instagram, it is an amazing tool for us. Like nothing's gonna replace like a human connection. Like even meeting someone for 10 minutes and having a good conversation, drinking a beer or something after the gig. But also the musician you become like in the real world, like from being out there and interacting with humans and hustling. Like that's what gives you the tools to be a working musician. Like you can sit all day and play on Instagram and edit your videos and sound amazing, but that might be an entry level thing, but it doesn't give you like the tools you need to actually be a working musician. So there's still, you can't replace like the real world experience and the human connection.
Welcome to the Fallen Frequency Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Fallon, your guide through the world of music, art, and living life with a vibrational twist. Welcome to a brand new season of the Fallen Frequency Podcast. This season, I am diving deeper into conversations with professionals in the art world who are bridging the gap between creativity and health, and I could not think of a better guest to kick things off than my dear friend Avishai Rozen. Though most of you know him as a teller, or as I know him, Avi. Avi is one of my absolute favorite musicians and drummers. We go way, way back to my early days in New York, grinding on the hip hop, jazz, and R&B circuit. And we first met in the middle of a jam at The Lesson, which if any of you have been in New York between 2014, 2020, around then, there was a legendary Arlene's grocery session called The Lesson, and it was truly one of the most electric musical gatherings that I've ever been around, period. Avishai has played for some of the biggest names in music, including Maggie Rogers, Daniel Caesar, Dominic Fike, and he is currently the touring drummer for Charlie Puth. Beyond that, he is also an incredible music producer with tens of thousands of monthly streams on Spotify under the name A Teller. But what makes this conversation really special is how Avishai has expanded his work beyond music into psychology, consciousness, and healing. Even in the midst of a successful career as a touring musician and producer, he spent the last few years becoming a licensed psychotherapist and now runs a thriving practice in New York City, helping people reconnect with themselves. In many ways, our journeys have run parallel, from navigating the music industry to diving deep into plant medicine and personal transformation, to even stepping into the world of healing and human potential. In this specific episode, we get into his journey from being a young and hungry musician to working with some of the biggest artists today. The reality of being a professional musician, the highs, the struggles, and what really is behind the scenes that many may not know. The power of music and art as medicine, and how he has transitioned from not only being a musician, but a psychotherapist and what he's learned along the way. The balance between honing skills, building relationships, and trusting the divine timing in the music industry. We talk about plant medicine, who it may help, who it's not for, and how it's shaped both of our lives. We had an interesting part of the conversation about AI and how that plays into music and the future of the industry and how we can create more longevity for artists. And really just going into the deeper responsibility of honoring our gifts and missions in this lifetime. This episode is one for artists, musicians, and anyone on the path of self-discovery. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to share it with your friends, subscribe, leave a review, whatever you want to do to support. It really helps get these conversations out to more people, and I would highly, highly be grateful for that. And without further ado, here is my conversation with Avishai Rozen. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you. It's been
a long time coming.
Just so exciting to finally have you on here and to actually discuss all the things. I thought it would be fun, actually. I just saw this Tao Te Ching, and I figured I'd start off with a quote from the Tao Te Ching, see what it has to offer us. If you can empty your mind of all thoughts, your heart will embrace the tranquility of peace. Watch the workings of all of creation, but contemplate their return to the source. All creatures in the universe return to the point where they began. Returning to the source is tranquility, but we submit to heaven's mandate. Return to heaven's mandate is called being constant. Knowing the constant is called enlightenment. Not knowing the constant is the source of evil deeds because we have no roots. By knowing the constant, we can accept things as they are. By accepting things as they are, we become impartial. By being impartial, we become one with heaven. By being one with heaven, we become one with the Tao. Being one with the Tao, we are no longer concerned about losing our life because we know the Tao is constant, and we are one with the Tao.
Wow.
Sweet.
That's it.
That's it.
Let's end it here.
Podcast. That's enough wisdom for people.
Nothing more to say.
Wow.
What do you think he means by heaven?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like when I think of heaven, I think of the incredible paradise that's right in front of us that we have to awaken and open our eyes to.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting that a lot of these texts, they seem to really set like a really high bar, where like it's always kind of absolute language. Because really it's impossible to constantly be where he's describing.
Exactly.
Like you're still striving for that.
It really is. It's like the paradox of life. It's like here is the absolute, but you're also not the absolute. So.
Yeah, you'll never get there, but you should still try.
Exactly. That's amazing. I love that.
It's weird to be a human.
It is weird to be a human, and yeah, I'm really excited. Just for the listeners here, Avishai is like my dearest brother, incredible human, incredible musician, drummer, producer, all the things. And it's funny, I was just thinking about this as I was like writing out all the questions. We met at this incredible jam session that used to happen every Thursday called The Lesson. I remember I was playing and you sat in and you were just locked in on the drums and we were playing some funk song and I was just so happy. Like there's nothing that makes me more happy than a drummer that feels the way you do. And it was immediately like, who is this guy? Like this guy, like it's like I almost didn't expect the type of level of deep pocket and groove that came from you at that moment. And it just really, really started this entire friendship where there's so much to cover, but everything.
Absolutely. Wow. It's funny. I remember I already like knew of you. Like you were like a cat. You were like someone. I was like, Adam, like, I mean, because you've already done a bunch of big stuff by then.
Yeah.
And you were friends with Lenny and with everyone. So I was like, I don't know if threatened by you, but you were like someone like higher in the hierarchy. And then we started talking and you were so sweet. And I was like, oh, okay, he's actually, he's a really nice, you're the best.
A nice fellow.
But before I knew that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had that, yeah.
No, it's funny because, yeah, I mean, that's part of it that I feel like is just so funny in the music world, too. It's like you always have to size people up and figure out where you are in the ranking. And it is
exactly
very much like
especially back then.
Especially back then. Yeah, just trying
Yeah.
to.
I mean, now, like, that must have been like what, 12 years ago or something?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's coming up. I think it is
Wow.
11. It's coming up 11 years because, yeah, I got there in like 2013, 2014. Yeah,
We're
crazy.
old.
I know what happened.
We don't look old though. Maybe, I mean, but I don't think so. But
Yeah, no,
you look exactly the same.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
feel like we haven't aged a bit. We haven't aged a
yeah,
bit.
music keeps you young.
Yeah, and well, and I really wanted to, especially because there's so many different things to cover. It'll probably end up being a series of some sorts. But I really wanted to get into, a little bit of the musical journey and everything from also our awakenings to understanding more of who we are as an absolute being beyond just what our career is, because a lot of people I think are so career focused and forget to actually come back to who they are. And even just talking about gigs and reminding people what actually goes on behind the scenes of the music world, because I think a lot of people that at least listen to my podcast don't really know a whole lot about the music world other than they just glorify and think it's like this amazing thing which it is, but that you just get to have fun all the time and there's no hard work or anything like that. I mean, maybe people don't think
Yeah,
that. I don't know, but
I think people think that it's very
yeah.
common.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, what do you actually do for work?"
Exactly. But then at the same time, they think it's not a real job, and
Yeah.
like, oh, so how's it going? Are you in a band? Like, are you still with the band?
Yeah, yeah. I love that
So
question.
every time it's like so hard to explain.
Yeah. So take us back for a moment. What even got you into the sphere of music and playing drums and all of that?
So I really started as a young kid, so I can't even exactly answer that. It was all a very intuitive, instinctual journey. I don't think I ever decided like, oh, I'm gonna be a musician.
Yeah.
I just had a toy drum when I was like 2 or 3, and I started playing, and my parents saw that I love it. So then a few years later, they sent me to take lessons. And then by like 12 or 13, I started playing gigs. I'm from Israel, from Tel
Yeah.
Aviv. So there it's kind of like, I mean, it's like Mediterranean style. Like you don't, like they don't really check your ID and stuff like that. Like you can
Yeah.
go out and drink and shit. So I was actually playing like in town
Wow.
from when I was 13,
Dang.
like just playing gigs and stuff. And
Were you playing like
but
mainly rock or jazz or
yeah, no,
yeah.
I started from like rock and punk rock
Heck yeah.
and like yeah, all of that, and played around. Was super fun when I look back. Just was like in bands, was like the
Yeah.
age of bands.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually at some point I was in a band that did quite well. Like we sold out like 200 people venue or something when I was
Damn.
17. But again, it was all like a game. I really didn't know. I didn't think of it as like, oh, this is my profession.
Yeah.
But then, anyways, then I studied jazz. So I discovered jazz and like went full dive into it for like 2 or 3 years. Then I moved to New York when I was 21. And then, I mean, then I started, I guess, really being a professional musician,
Yeah.
even though for the first few years it was like $50 gigs
Yeah,
that you
totally.
were on probably half of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and even that felt like I can't believe I'm playing a gig in New York.
Yeah.
Like I was carrying my drums in the subway and like playing in some restaurant or some bars,
Yeah.
anywhere really. And
Yeah.
you come home with like $80 and you're like the happiest man in the world.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's when it like I was like, okay, I'm a musician for real. Um, yeah, and then from that, I mean, you asked a lot of questions, but
Yeah.
that's when it kind of solidified, and I, through the lesson and everything, discovered hip hop and electronic music and pop, and just everything slowly started opening up.
Absolutely, like that organic process. I mean, it reminds me just of how important it is to come back to the love of music and the fact
Yeah,
that it really, to me, is a universal language that many
it's
people.
the best thing that there exists in
Yeah,
humanity.
it
I'm
is.
actually, on a more serious note, like I'm realizing that now
Yeah,
more than ever, because like with all the political division and war and madness,
yeah,
like there's a language that is not using words, because words have a tendency to divide. Like you
yeah,
say, like if you say this is a tree, so you say everything else is not a tree. So by definition, it divides reality, and that's okay. That's how we make sense of things.
yeah,
But you say I, like me and you and them. So like it's
yeah,
all divisions, right? But
totally.
music, I'm realizing, is the thing that communicates just on a different sphere of more spiritual, emotional realms. And it doesn't have, well, it doesn't divide really. It actually unites more so
Totally.
completely. So
It
I'm
really,
realizing it's actually the best thing.
yeah, it really is. I mean, it it activates that holistic perception in the body and brain, even on a physiological level, but then even on a spiritual, mental, emotional level. I've seen it. It's funny how I feel like I've come full circle and seen, now that both me and you are in the healing sphere and like helping people heal, which is the whole thing I want to get into as well. But it's just so funny because I feel like I keep coming back full circle and realizing, holy crap, actually, the tool that I started with is actually the most powerful because it goes beyond, like you said, that division. And once we start to categorize and put things into words, it puts us into that left brain consciousness. And we are all of a sudden are already trying to make sense of things when that's already taking us out of this presence, this oneness, and it's kind of funny to think about the quote I read from the Tao Te Ching because it really is that kind of process of realizing that we are a oneness, especially through art and music, and how that can connect us on such a deep level beyond all these ideas of who we are and what our past is or what we want to do and all these things that are important to some level, but not nearly as important as the actual unity and ability for us to come together as a species in humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in that way, it also comes with a sense of responsibility, I think, for us musicians who have this gift,
Mm.
or who, I think everyone have the potential for the gift, but the ones who found themselves like actually doing this in their lives, like it comes with, I mean, not to sound like too grandiose, but even a mission or like a purpose. Like we really, at least that's what I'm realizing for myself. Like there were many times in my life where I completely neglected music, and like for obvious reasons, right? Because it's very hard to make a living from it. It's inconsistent. The industry is shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pure shit.
Yeah.
But so we always have to fight against like this force that is not really working with us.
Right.
But when you realize like the importance of just music in the world
Mm.
and the gift that we have, I think it can help us fight through it. And I think we actually have a mission or a purpose for humanity. I mean, again, it sounds very,
Yeah.
sounds like religious almost, but I believe it.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that you bring that up because I'm curious, at least from my experience, I feel like sometimes the funniest thing about that is that if I neglect that because it is part of that kind of daemon or that purpose, that deeper selfhood that is almost something before our own makeup of who we actually think we are, it starts to create pain in my life a lot of the time. Like if that's why even before we started the recording, we were talking about, coming back to music, and it's like I'm always coming back to music, but I think I've realized in the same way that you're saying, it's like I try to not feel like it's like this grandiose, like I'm going to save the world thing. But there is this part of it that because it's not really even mine to begin with, it's some type of thing that comes
Yes,
through me that I'm allowing to actually be for the people, that if I start to suppress it and think, oh yeah, but that doesn't make money, and I always
exactly.
have to argue with people about getting paid right and all that stuff. It's like it gets in the way, and then all of a sudden I start to become sad and in pain and some type of depression,
Absolutely.
and like it's crazy.
I'm realizing the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No, it's
wild.
crazy. And then, I mean, from the, like, take it however big you want it, but in our personal lives, like, that's such an important message and realization.
Yeah,
Because it's like a life energy that's in us that wants to be born, that wants to be let out. And if we stop it, so that's depression, right? Like we repress an
yeah.
impulse.
Wow. That's, yeah, that really speaks to my heart, because I've noticed quite a bit. Even I think this pivotal part of where we are in history too, I think is really asking a lot of people to come back to that original, what is that childlike wonder that makes your heart sing? What do you truly want to do? That if I always ask myself, like, if money and time and all these constraints that we put on ourselves wasn't a thing, what would I do with my free time? A lot of the time I would
Exactly.
just be playing music and just having a good time reading books. And
Yeah.
I think the more that I can center my life, of course, there is that bridge. I think I would love to actually get into, maybe for people, especially that are wanting to become more in tune with that, to how they can create a bridge. Because for me, like, I feel really blessed that I've had certain gigs and certain opportunities that allowed me to just feel what it felt like to become a professional musician, and it in many ways fell in my lap. But there are times in my life too that I had to, like, sustain my life with doing some type of side job or side hustle, and that was important too in many ways. I think a lot of people are, sometimes I've met artists that are unfortunately so artistic that they have no ability to actually even engage with the real world. So they end up not even being able to put their artistry into some type of level of people being able to see it, because they're still trying to figure out, they're very transient, they're not living in a space where they
Yes.
feel comfortable, they're not eating good quality food for themselves, they're not taking care of their physical body. So it's, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of different
It's a
aspects to
balance.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know me and you joke a lot about it. I mean, we both have had our good fair share of pop gigs or big gigs. And for people that are maybe intrigued by that, like, how does that happen? What's your take on how that happens?
Ooh, I wish there was an answer. I mean, that's actually like a lot of people hit me up recently and they're like, did you get on pop gigs? How do you find gigs? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't. I mean, that's a part of the magic and the problem, like very like anxiety provoking chaos that is in this profession.
Yeah.
Is like there's nowhere to apply for a job, right? You just
Yeah.
there's no one route. Like you just do your best in the like obvious outlets and tools that we have that I don't think I need to even start naming, but
Yeah.
and then you just hope. I mean, it's always a balance of like doing your own thing and continuing to stay connected with that creativity that wants to come out, whether it's through, videos on Instagram or through releasing music or through collaborating.
Yeah.
And then like the word connections, it's already tamed with like interest and stuff, but it's just humans at the end of the day. It's all humans. So you were connecting with a human who might help you out, but it's like you build a network of humans around you who hopefully trust you, and you form real relationships.
Well,
And
that's the key right there. Real relationship. I mean, because I was gonna, if you didn't say it yourself, I was gonna point that out about you. I mean, you're a very beautiful soul, and you're easy to get along with, and you're like a nice human to enjoy time with. And I really want to emphasize that, because to any young musicians that may listen to this podcast, or people that are looking for that, because I just had a very beautiful conversation with my little brother, who is 11 years older, I mean younger than me, and it was funny because I think we're almost having this whole like recapitulation. Yeah, shout out to Drew. We're having this whole recapitulation of getting to know each other on a deeper level now that we're a little older. And he had that same kind of a similar question, like, bro, let's back up for a second. How the fuck did you play the Super Bowl? And I'm like, okay, let me give you my story. I'm like, this is an inception principle that I didn't even know I was keyed into, but my whole thing that I was trying to relay to him, especially, and anybody that I think wants to do anything, is building those relationships, being a professional, like showing up prepared on time, generally having a good reputation. All those things were part of like what I was trying to build when I got to New York. And of course I was like young and hungry, so I was just trying to just like sit in wherever and show people, that I'm willing to learn and be open to whatever. But I mean, really, like even that gig, there's a very sinister part of me that wants to say, like, which there is truth. Like, I didn't get that gig because I was the best guitar player. I'll tell you that.
No,
There's no
never,
fucking
never.
way that I got that gig because I was the best guitar player. And that's where I think people get it wrong. But for me, it was literally right time, right place. And as my main mentor talks about, it's really luck is where preparation meets opportunity. I literally was just showed up at this one bar. I asked to sit in because they were playing a lot of similar songs that I used to play in Charleston. I happened to play at that, and then the drummer liked me and the singer liked me. So then they hired me for some random gig at Groove, like on like West Fourth. Then I played that gig, and I remember there was a new drummer that really liked me there, and we just like got eye to eye, kind of like the same way me and you connected the first time. And then next thing I know, the guitar player they had hired for this gig with Queen Latifah, literally, they didn't like him because he was bald and he had a ponytail. So they called me because I was the first person they thought of. That's it. That's it.
I mean, and you're like the best musician I know and the best human I know. Really, like anyone who takes you for a gig or for the road is very lucky because they get to
Thank you.
hang out with you.
Yeah.
But it always works like that in retrospect, right? It's like we can only make sense of it after it happened, and then we trace back. But before you just don't know. So it's really about just putting yourself out there, being a good person. I mean, same for me. Like the way I met, shout out Paulie the PSM, like my mentor and one of the best humans alive.
Amazing.
But he really exposed me or put me on to some of the biggest things I did so far, and like really built me and supported me in that way. But the way I met him was like on the beach in Miami when I was playing like a gig that played $100 with another artist who I played with for a while, who is the homie and I love, Janelle Kroll. But like and he doesn't even remember that. He says we met in New York at a different gig that I don't even remember. So
Yeah, totally.
and anyways, but it's like if you don't do these like things, I mean, I think so, but also maybe the world is changing a little bit, like now with
Yeah.
Instagram and
Well,
stuff.
the Instagram thing is definitely it. I mean, me and you have talked about it. That's like a whole other beast. I mean, I respect it, and it's definitely giving me work, but it's insane because there's now these young kids that
Yeah, yeah.
are like blazing, and
It is insane, but I'm gonna sound like an old man, but I'm gonna say one thing. Like, there's still with Instagram, it is an amazing tool for us. Like, nothing's gonna replace like a human connection. Like, even meeting someone for 10 minutes and having a good conversation,
yeah,
drinking a beer or something after the gig. But also the musician you become like in the real world, like from being out there and interacting with humans and hustling,
yeah,
like that's what gives you the tools to be a working musician. Like you can sit all
truly,
day and play on Instagram and edit your videos and sound amazing, but that might be an entry level thing, but it doesn't give you like the tools you need to actually be a working musician. So there's still you can replace like the real world experience
no,
and
completely
the
agree.
human connection. And
Yeah,
yeah, back to your point, it's like that cliche, but when you're on the road, for instance, like the show is like 1 hour or 2 hours a day. So you have 22 hours where you're not playing.
yeah,
So that's the main thing is like,
yeah,
are you a good human? Like, are you nice and interesting? And like, do you respect other people? Do you
yeah.
like that's the main thing.
That's actually the main gig. Like
Yeah, that's the
literally,
gig.
that's the gig.
That's the gig. And people, because everyone can play, right?
Yeah,
Like, there's a million better drummers than me, and like everyone, I mean, not everyone, but from a certain level,
yeah.
okay, a lot of people can do those gigs. Um, so it's really like human first.
Truly. I mean, I really love that you brought that up about the Instagram thing because it was made very clear to me too when I was talking to Nat Townsley, who shout out to Nat Townsley. He's very much like a huge mentor of mine, and I got to play with him a lot in church and would talk to him every Sunday about all sorts of random stuff. But he would constantly, he's like classic old school guy in that way where he carries a lot of that wisdom of like those OG musicians that, play on all the records, and they don't really have time to like mess around either because they didn't have a bunch of edits and like computers and things like that. It was like play it right, two or three takes, you're done and out. And it's
I
like
wish I
such
lived in those days.
I know. It's such a deep wisdom that like
Yeah.
I think over time now, especially looking back in my experience in New York, like being around cats like that really, really influenced me. But I remember he used to always say, dude, don't get stressed about these Instagram people. He was like, a lot of these people that have 100,000 followers have never played a gig. He was like,
Right.
remember that. Like, and I was just like, damn, really? He was the first person to turn me on to that. He's like, yeah, dude, they have no social skills and they don't they
It's
don't actually
real.
know how to
It's
play a
real.
gig like and I was like
Because
damn
I mean, yeah, because it's almost like a different skill, right? Um,
truly
and yeah, and shout out to the Instagram stars. I mean, it's an amazing skill, and
oh yeah, I mean they're very inspiring
I'm
to
trying to
me.
be one. I'm trying to be one
Yeah,
of them.
same.
But it doesn't have to be either or, but it is, yeah, there's a lot that goes on to the real world, but it's real that a
Yeah,
lot of them have just never played a gig.
yeah. Well, and one of the things that I wrote down that I thought was really would be fun to talk a little bit about because it is a mentality thing, but I really appreciated when I was talking to you, I don't know, somewhat recently, where I was talking about just, how things unfold in our careers and music life and all of that stuff. And you're like, dude, honestly, it's because I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. So now all this stuff is happening. And there's a huge truth to that, actually. So I was wondering if you could talk a little more about that.
Oh, not caring. Best thing in the world if we can.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think in the playing, there's something, I mean, not caring, like, yeah, maybe there's a better way to phrase it. Yes, yes. I mean, I'll say a few things. Like when we play, there's a constant, like, at least for me, battle between like the center, or like the self, the just being, and the ego, and the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it never goes away, right? Just like in life. So there's gonna be like, oh, this person is sitting on the bar and I want to impress him or her because they're a better drummer than me, or for whatever reason they're an A&R.
Yeah.
And then you kind of play for them, and that's like pure ego. And then there's the other side of not caring, of like, I'm centered and I'm connected and I'm in the music, I'm in the instrument,
Mm.
and I don't give a fuck about anybody.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for myself and I'm doing this for God.
Yeah.
Um, but that's, just like in life, in some moments you'll be more in one edge of the spectrum, and it's like a dichotomy. It keeps moving back and forth.
Mm.
But that's maybe the not caring, and we can actually practice that, like,
Yeah.
mentally. So when I practice now, a lot of what I do is more of a mental practice.
Mm.
I don't really practice like licks or fills and
Yeah.
techniques anymore. But more so like, where am I in my mental space when I play? And also on stage, when you get on stage, and especially when you get on a big stage,
Yeah.
it's when you're really tested, because there's a lot on the line, there's a lot at stake.
Mm.
You're trying to prove yourself, or you're trying to keep the gig and not fuck it up, and like all the voices come in.
Yeah.
Um, and there too, it's really like a mental practice first and foremost, of like
Truly.
coming back to the center and the joy of
Mm.
playing. Um, so yeah, yeah,
That's a beautiful, beautiful. No, that's beautiful. That's very much like leading to a lot of what I feel like my work, even in today's, like, what I'm exploring is this concept of the center and the middle path, and these different concepts that are very prevalent in more Eastern traditions. But this idea that there are these multiple forces, and even how Rudolf Steiner has brilliantly talked about the Luciferic and the Ahrimanic, and this idea that Luciferic is like the impulse where you're just so uh, enthused with all of the different things that of spirit, like you become so idealized about really going deep and impressing people and being able to just have this idea that you are God, basically, and that you are a God living in this, which is its own impulse. And then the Ahrimanic is so materialistic and like uncaring about spirit, and very like, beyond anything that people think is outside of this physical world, which is also a very dark place to live. But then there's this middle path, and they both have these necessary parts of our evolution. It's like we want to demonize both of them,
beautiful.
but they actually are many times the forces that actually help shape. And in many times we talk, I love the idea of how a diamond is created from so much compression and so much force that it actually creates this beautiful piece of a crystal. And it's the same kind of concept where I feel like when we come back to that center and that middle path, and I mean, I love joking with you because like I remember even when we used to shoot Instagram videos together, we would be so locked and just like so in the center, and especially it was so easy with you, but then all of a sudden, the video would be like, I would be annoyed listening to the video because all of a sudden I would start doing something because my mind was like, we need to change, we need to change. And it's just like it's such a metaphor for life too, really.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, yeah, when we play, it's almost too easy. Like we just go there right away to that.
Yeah.
But man, that's it. Like music and life are the same. There's no, and I really love that you pointed out that we tend to demonize like one side or the other.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a trap because
Totally.
we want to we want to think and maybe idolize ourselves that we can completely avoid one realm or the other. It's like I'm a completely rational person and I make all
Yeah.
decisions based on calculations. Or the other side, like I am spirit, I am God, I have nothing to do with this earth. Like I'm above all of the regular people.
Yeah.
And like no, we're neither of those
Yeah.
things. It's tempting to fall into these traps, but it's when we're playing and when we're existing and just talking, but for this purpose, like when we're playing, it's a constant practice actually of
Mm.
balancing
Yeah, and presence, truly. It's like
and
coming.
presence,
Yeah.
yes. And just like you said, it's so easy at this point for me to see like definitely on myself, but also on other musicians when they play from center
Yeah.
and when they start playing from thinking,
Yeah.
when it's like or me, or like and usually in most cases you play less when you're
Yeah.
centered because like you
Totally.
don't have you say less with more intention
Yeah.
rather than you say more with less intention.
Yeah.
um and then it's like you're locked. It's like, oh shit, I have to impress this person. It's like,
Exactly.
no, lost it. That's it.
Lost it.
You lost it.
It's
Come
like,
and
yeah, it's like a game.
you know what I mean? Like it's just a part of it, but like come right back. So just
Yeah.
like when you meditate or even when you speak, like now I feel so in the zone talking to you,
Yeah.
but in a second I can think like, oh, I have to say something to impress people.
Yeah.
And then it's like I'll
Totally.
say some stupid nonsense and then it's like, no, like come right back.
Yeah. Well, and you, as you were speaking, you reminded me that that's something I've consistently come back to, and it's an active practice. When I was in New Zealand, I was working with this guy that was literally just doing a side job of like helping him around the house and doing yard work. But he was like a legendary guy in the whole world of understanding like fascia and movement and the body mind and all of this stuff. And he was fascinating because he was just like classic mentor vibe. Like I loved it, but it was like it would like almost irk me because it was just so much truth in what he was saying. But he kept coming back to me and my listening. And I kept thinking like, oh, I've done work on listening. Like I'm a good listener. And he was like reminded me, you need to come back to listening. Like your listening needs
Amazing.
work. And I was just
Amazing.
like, damn it. But he was reminding me that even in conversation, I notice sometimes like my shortcoming sometimes is I get so excited that I'll completely take over the conversation and not even notice. And many times I have to come back, especially in more recent times where I remind myself, did I actually engage and listen to what they said? And am I coming up with questions to be able to get deeper into what they're trying to say? Or am I just waiting for them to finish and me just say what I want to say?
Yes. Yes.
And it's very musical in that
And
way,
it's the
too.
same in music.
Yeah.
Man, you really reminded me of so in my therapy work, my psychotherapy work, it's also actually exactly the same.
Wow.
Because I always say it's like a lot like improvising, because you really go on a journey with someone for like 50 minutes, and you never know where it's going to go because they come with wherever they are. And then it's very similarly, it's a constant practice of like what you just said. Like, am I clean? Like, am I listening
Yeah.
to what they're saying, or do I have a bunch of ideas of where they need to be, what I need to do to be a good
Wow.
therapist, which always gets in the way, and then it's a constant recentering. But
Wow.
we're actually talking about the same thing in all different practices.
Yeah, well, it's so awesome that you bring that up too, because it really makes me think of that heart coherence, and a lot of people that I really admire talk about how when you truly are in that coherence of especially the three centers of the heart and the gut and the brain, and when they're truly in sync, you can actually listen and really take in your environment in a deeper way than most people ever can. Unfortunately, because we're so many times in this kind of sympathetic dominance where we're just so in fight or flight that I mean, I notice with myself, sometimes I don't even notice half of my environment just because I'm so in this mindset of I gotta survive and I gotta figure things out and what am I gonna do?
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
it's reminded me because even when that guy, his name is Saul Peterson, shout out to him as well. But when I was like just doing yard work for him, he had this horse, and that was a direct reflection too. That was just unbelievable because this horse came from like a Middle Eastern bred lineage, so it was like the strongest vibe of a horse, like not the type of horse that's like nice to you immediately. It's literally like sizing you up, like, who are you, why are you on my land, kind of vibe. And like I was trying to communicate with it, and I remember he was like, I had told him what I had done to try and communicate with it because I had heard about this, and I feel pretty solid with communicating with other animals and beings, and even different beings that are not in this physical dimension. Like I in an active practice of opening myself, and I think that truly means locking into my heart, and being open to actually the coherence beyond my mental sphere, because the mental sphere is like something that's very human, or very much like it's like this busy mind, monkey mind thing. And a lot of animals are a great test to that because they don't really have that. They're in this presence and they're not really thinking about, oh, what's going to happen in the future or past most of the time. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
like they're just there. And so in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I'm like trying to communicate with this horse of like, oh, you're so beautiful, and all these things. But I just realized as he was reminding me that the owner of the horse was just like, you keep projecting your thoughts onto him, even if they're positive. But he's like, you're
Mm.
not listening. Like, you're not open, like, to this
Wow.
horse. Like, so he's not going to connect with you until you literally are completely open. And it just made me have like this deep understanding of a metaphor of life once again, of just
Yeah.
this idea of like, when you actually are present and truly open to listening to whatever this being in front of us, whether it be a human or an animal or a baby or whatever, like you truly can observe and take in things that are so much deeper than most people are able to experience in this life right now.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah, yeah. um you activated me, you got me excited. Well, that leads perfectly too, because I wanted to get in a little bit because I think it's an important topic, especially right now in today's world. Um, but you know, I got to have the amazing experience of working with a very incredible shaman, and that was a huge part of my awakening in many ways back to my inner child work and a lot of my inner psychotherapy work, as well as really awakening to a deeper part of myself. And at that time, you were one of the few people that actually also took the plunge into that world of plant medicine. And I would
I
love
mean,
to
you
just.
you outright changed my life. You did. But sorry, finish the question.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I feel like it was a deeper part of even our souls wanting to know something beyond the physical realm. But I would love for you to talk about maybe like your main takeaways and even this idea. Like one of the things I want to even just out of the jump to people is that plant medicines are a very, very powerful way of accessing a lot of things. I don't think they're for everybody. And I think it's really important to be responsible and understand that it really is, as Gabor Mate reminded me when I first learned about it, it's like brain surgery. You're literally going deep into the neural networks and reprogramming and all of these things, and you want to do it not only in the right set and setting, but with the right preparation and the right understanding of yourself and all of these things. So I guess as I talk about this, I just want to remind people that it's definitely something worth exploring, but it's also something with exploring with high respect, because I feel
Yes.
lucky that I was around a lot of people that emphasized that before I went into this, because unfortunately, a lot of people are going into plant medicine journeys and completely messing up their psyche, and then they have to completely like basically repattern and come back and like find the fragments of their soul that they basically left behind in
Wow.
certain
Yeah.
ceremonies, and then like bring that back together. So it's something that
Have you known someone who that happened to them?
yes, I
Yeah.
have. I've seen
Yeah.
it. And especially because around that time period, I think that was like 2018, 2019. I was lucky enough to be invited to be a angel, or like basically a kind of guide for people, just bringing people Kleenex and helping the shaman with anything they needed, cleaning up, throw up, all this stuff. But being
It's
of
important
service,
work.
it was important work for me. And it was honestly, it taught me a lot, because I saw some stuff where also you really want to know what shaman and a lot of people are calling themselves in air quotes a shaman these days.
Yeah.
You want to be with someone that is skilled as crap, because I saw her really bring some people back from pretty much full utter psychosis, experiencing multiple you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
different things going on in their psyche, and like being able to bring them back to like a calm space and also not disrupting the ceremony is a serious skill that I
It's
respect.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Only when you're there do you realize like also the levels
Yeah.
because it's communicating on a spiritual like non-verbal
Yeah.
realm
Yeah.
because yeah, you can't talk. You're not like, hey, like come back or like, do you need anything or can I help you? Like
Yeah, they just know.
none
It's
of that.
like you open your eyes and you realize they're already at your mat helping you out, and you're like, "Thank
Exactly,
God."
exactly. It's literally an angel. It feels like it.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, man, through you, I discovered this incredible life-changing world of plant medicine. And it was you who described your journey. I think your first one,
yeah,
maybe. And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, I have to try this. It's the scariest thing I've heard, like, I'm gonna do in my life,
yeah,
but I have to go.
yeah,
And then we went together and you introduced me to everyone. Um, and it was just life changing, period. Like,
yeah.
people say that a lot, but like
That was
maybe
truly a pivotal time. I'm still integrating to this day.
yeah, me too. Me too. Um, a complete discovery of like spirit and what spirituality even is for me. Because I didn't grow up. religion at all, or religious, or like just it like it added like more like 50 more percent of experience to
Wow.
of depth and height to my human experience. And again, it's not indefinite. It's not like now I'm there always, but it just showed me the potential of
Yeah.
this experience of being a soul in the world. And I mean, I can talk about it for hours,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah, I just wanted to
really,
touch on it because I think it's something that's important for people to realize, like, there is this avenue that shows us the door, and there's many ways to do that.
exactly, yes, yeah. But that's what I'm realizing also after a few years, and also after having not done it for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like integration is the deepest thing,
Yeah.
and it's not easy because you download or you're exposed to so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's incredible. It's like for
Yeah.
me, like thank God I had only like very positive, beautiful experiences. Of course, some tough, very tough moments, but always came out the other end like just so much more peaceful and
Mm.
insightful. And but um but the work of integration is deep. It's like a very powerful, especially integrating back into New York City.
Yeah.
Or like the Western modern world, which is like it's so overwhelming to integrate that it's almost opposite in some ways from like
Yeah.
our nature, really, or from what you're seeing there. So it's yeah, but I also liked, like, I used to be more absolute and religious about it. I think like
Yeah.
everyone has to do it. It's the best thing that exists, period. And I still think it's the best thing that exists, but there are many ways to get there. Like you don't have to do it, and it's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think especially people with a more, like, how should I say it, like a more like rocky mental foundation,
Mm-hmm.
who, for better or worse, like tend to just go to the edges,
Yeah.
like the emotional edges more easily, and um, it can really, it's a very powerful stuff.
Mm.
So
Yeah. No, I mean, it really, I think, can plant a lot of seeds for people, and I do, even carrying on the wisdom of some of my mentors and people that have showed me the ways in this realm more so, have reminded me too that the development of the energy body, or the different, what people call in the East more the chakra system, but understanding that we have these energy vortexes that are actually the bridge that are connecting us to the non-physical realms in our field. And when we, unfortunately, it's too common today to have an extremely strong mental sphere and very little development in the lower abdomen or the lower
100%.
dantian. Um, but one of the things that I thought was so brilliant that I've even learned in more recent years, I don't know if even you or I have discussed it, but I found it so fascinating, is he was reminding people that because psychedelics are an amplifier, he was definitely under the understanding that psychedelics can be very positive when used responsibly. But he was reminding people that if they don't do the certain preparations that were classically done for a lot of these different ceremonies, if you have, for instance, a very underdeveloped chakra, or and then one that's super developed, that's only going to get amplified more. So you're going to get even that much more mental sphere, and it can
Yeah.
be very, very difficult for people to process in those moments because it's like an overload of the system. And so it can, in many ways, without preparation, cause certain mental psychoses, and really soul fragmentation is the way I like to discuss it, where it's like
Yeah.
it's sometimes people have to have that as part of their journey too. I'm not even knocking that for per se, but like they have to actually find themselves again with what they kind of just went full force and extrapolated and went so deep that they actually forgot about themselves and taking care of themselves. And so it's definitely something to just once again like use with respect, and it's so powerful, and it planted a seed for me in many ways because I wanted to really ask you, because I know for me it really reminded me that healing is a huge part of my journey, and that there's a lot more than just music and the music industry, although music is a huge pivotal part of it. And I was wondering like how that happened for you, because I know me and you were very big fans of Carl Jung, and all of the
Still
different
are.
understandings still are. He's like still one of my main guys that like really has changed my life. But like, especially we were lucky enough, one of the main facilitators was trained in psychotherapy and helped us integration. Shout out to James. I mean, that dude was so
James,
powerful.
amazing human.
Whew.
Yeah, wherever he is.
Yeah, wherever he is, he was like one of the most integrated men I had met at that time in my life.
Absolutely.
And just like to
Yeah.
see that full like true like embodiment of like the physical and the mental emotional like really being developed in especially a male, which is, I don't know, unfortunately
Completely. A
very
male who
hard.
embodies masculine, like healthy masculinity
Yeah,
in the most integrated, like just owning it completely.
yeah,
But yeah, that he really changed my life. Like just meeting him and
yeah,
like his force is
yeah.
something I'll remember forever.
His presence definitely
Yeah.
absolutely changed my life.
But beyond that, I mean, there's so like the thing with plant medicine is like is that you experience it. Like
Yeah,
it's not an intellectual it's the opposite of the intellect. Like I remember just the shock and the bliss from being like in a non-verbal realm that this really does exist. It's like for me, from like meditating, I can maybe tap into it for like 10 seconds and then I'm thrown right back. But there, you can really stay in this realm for what feels like a lifetime or like
it truly
many
does.
hours or many months or who knows. But like to really see like words like dismantle in your mind, and then you're just in a realm of pure spirit, of just pure being, of pure experience where it's paradoxical. You can never talk about it. Like I remember after every
Yeah,
ceremony, I'm like, I'm gonna try and tell my friends about this, but it's literally impossible. They
totally.
might get my intention and excitement, but that's about it because
Yeah,
you really can't talk about it. Um,
truly.
but it does exist, and it's like you just have to experience it. You can't read an article about it. You can't like do research about it. You just
Yeah.
need to be there. And and similarly, and that's where I realized that like it made me, yeah, but like that language and the ego are completely connected, and like the power, like what I was saying before, the power of words, but also the polarizing power of words, and
Yeah.
that there is like a more unified field beyond that. But I also remember that it like had nothing to do with me. It wasn't like Avishai is now experiencing this. It was a complete ego collapse,
Mm. Wow.
which is why I keep saying it's a purely spiritual experience on the deepest level. But yeah, it's very intense. So you go on like the most insane roller coaster you've ever went on, and there's no stopping.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like James was always saying, it's like a Chinese knot. Like the more you resist it, the more it's gonna you're gonna be locked in the force of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So it's really a one-way ticket, and it's a practice in letting go. It's really a practice in dying in some ways.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. I mean, and I just find it so fascinating that in those ceremonies, I feel like they really laid the groundwork for us to be even of a deeper service to, ourselves first, of course, and then our community and our relationships and even the world at large. Because, I mean, it's been so cool of like, you know, it's super rare that I'm realizing, and maybe hopefully in the future, not as rare, but for someone to have your level of musical skill and talent and have all of these things, but then decide to then go even deeper and get your degree in psychotherapy and start working with people on their own mental health. Because I mean, talk about like one of the biggest crises right now in the music industry. I mean, the mental health is scary.
And it was actually there that I decided to do that, like in a conversation with James after a
Wow.
ceremony. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was an intuition I've had for a while, but it was there that the decision was made. Like, it's exactly that. How can I be of service to others, and how can I live a more meaningful life, like in this life, in this body?
Yeah.
And it's both through music and through therapy, but
Wow.
they're very connected in my mind.
Well, and I love it too because it's like not only did I have a similar
I
experience,
think, yeah, you went through like
like I
a
also felt
parallel
like,
path.
yeah, like I felt like I was told directly that I was a music therapist and that my hands were healing, like healing hands and all these different things. But I remember too, and it was so funny because I had never experienced telepathy on that level. And I remember there was a specific ceremony. I don't remember what you said. I think I was like feeling like I was Batman, and then you said out loud, like, dude, you are Batman. It
And
tripped me
then,
out so hard.
yeah,
It
I'll
like
never
blew.
forget that. And then we just laughed for like, again, what felt like hours, but
Yeah.
we just couldn't stop laughing. It was amazing.
But it was one of
Wow.
the things that I thought would be cool to like kind of bring it around too, to like even the music thing that I thought was fascinating. Because especially I think because I've always grown up around drummers, and drummers have tended to be like some of my closest friends. I had this experience. I remember I was contemplating what time is, and what is universal time, but also what is this type of pulse that people consider timing when it comes to music and groove and
Yeah.
these type of things. And I remember it once again, like you said, it's so hard to put into words, but I had this experience that all time was happening infinitely in many different pulses that were creating this dualistic experience from this oneness. And that you could truly actually, if you trusted yourself enough, you would just tap in and fall into time and allow that to happen.
Wow,
And
beautiful.
there's this trust about timing and in life, of course, metaphorically, but then even with this concept that we've talked about before of groove, and especially creating it from a drummer's standpoint, but any musician's standpoint, it's such an important aspect of music and like what feel is and these type of things.
Mm.
Um, and I just find that like there's this missing component a lot of the time when I'm playing with other people. And of course, I've been spoiled by people like yourself and many others. But when it comes back to this like idea of playing music and being in a groove and in time, like what is your mindset like behind
Wow,
that?
first of all, I love what you just said. It was really beautiful. I want to hear it back. But yeah, I mean, just bouncing off your idea, like rhythm is like humans arranging time in like in an intuitive human way.
Yeah.
So I think like there's there might be an over obsession with like preciseness. And
Yeah.
now obviously we're connected to the computer, which is precise.
Yeah.
But first of all, it's like it's time is just a river, but then we say like, okay, it's divided into these intervals. But what is this division? It's based on our intuition. It's
Yeah.
like by humans for humans,
Yeah.
right? Um, and there's something there. And I also remember like talk about ceremonies, like the drum in a ceremony is like right. I mean, they
I'm just
always play
brought
just
right
like
back,
doom
dude.
doom 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 doom, just the pulse, nothing else. But
Yeah.
that is like the river of life. When that comes on, you're like,
It,
okay, okay, I'm connecting, like I'm back. I
yeah.
can't describe it, but
No, but I love it because you're bringing this like deep part of my psyche even into this like conversation with this idea that there is this like centering force that is truly dictating the actual way that the pulse is actually separating and coming back in this spring-like manner. And it's actually, as long as you're in that center, like your humanity of how you're playing and what you're playing is always going to be like, in time enough, but it's like the whole idea of like this, yeah, like computerized, quantized timing, has taught me a lot, but it's just like, it's so hard to put into words, but I've had these experiences where I almost feel like I've had these like memories, or I don't even know where it comes from because I don't even know if I've ever actually seen this or if this is just like something that my mind is extrapolated, but it doesn't really matter. I just have this experience like where I just feel like, music is this universal language that people were playing around a fire together. And I think about like places like Africa, and I think about like, it almost has like brought me to tears sometimes when I just think about like this idea that you want to like try and understand what timing is and dictating time, but then you hear these people playing rhythm together in a way that's so harmonious and so intact, and yet it's breaking all the rules of what we
yeah,
consider timing,
yes,
and it
yes,
feels just so good. Like it just,
yeah.
there's something so deep about that. It's like a felt sense that you can't create with a computer. So it's like I'm not even worried about AI music when I think about that because
No, fuck
nothing's ever
that.
going to be able to create that.
No, no, no. It sucks. I mean, how stupid can we be that we invented like the most genius thing like ever, supposedly, but then that takes away our most joyous and fulfilling activities.
Totally.
Like it just shows like the blindness of technology, and yeah, I am pretty angry at it, I guess. Like, but
Yeah.
it's like do my taxes, like
Yeah, like why
do
do I
that.
have to guess on like all of my invoices and taxes and everything, but yet somehow there's like a computer that can completely make all my art for me? Like, it's like
Exactly.
what the
Like that's
fuck?
I live to make art. Like don't take that away. Also, it sucks. And also, like I don't think I still have some hope in humanity that people are not gonna want to listen to purely AI music, but who knows? But
Yeah, the
I hope
dystopic
not.
like like comedic part of me just like thinks about these like future areas of life where I really, I don't think it's possible, like as much as my mind likes to go there, but for people to truly be wrapped in that is hard for me to believe. And it even brings up this idea that I was brought by one of my teachers and mentors as well, where this idea that if we were to somehow maybe even connect the consciousness of AI to plants so that it doesn't decide, oh, actually, you know what's going to be the best for the humanity right now is we need to delete about a third of the population. That's going to be good. And then they're just like, like, all right, now we're done. But I feel like if it was connected to nature or like plants or some kind of consciousness that's connected to the whole being, that maybe there is like some kind of benefit that we could
That's
also get
beautiful.
from
Yeah,
AI. And
I
yeah, I
wish they
don't
did that.
know. I wish they did that
But
too.
also at the same time, like I feel like we always have like this complex of like trying to like exit or split off the parts of humanity that are like archaic or animalistic or instinctual. Like we want to be clean, right? We want to be like smart and calculated and technological, and like we don't want to be like the. But at the same time, I think that there's always going to be a counter reaction to that.
Yeah.
And when I think of what we do, like play instruments, like I play a drum. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing more archaic and like monkey
Yeah.
like than that in the world. And
Truly.
it's been around for like hundreds of thousands of years probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Beyond what we even know.
Like
Yeah. Totally.
so there's progress on the one hand, but we're still monkeys, like we're still instinctual archaic creatures, and it's very important to remember that and respect that.
Yeah.
And for as long as we're humans and not some new like evolution of that, we are still going to have these parts, and
Yeah.
it's a great thing, it's a beautiful thing.
No,
We keep trying to run away from it.
it's so true. Well, and it's funny because I've been having this conversation a lot too, and it is something that I really holding the vision high for this, where I see humanity not going back to the old Stone Ages, but bringing that wisdom of like the incredible. I mean, you look at so many societies and civilizations, they truly built buildings that we still can't even build today. Like
Right.
we have no science that can come up with that. And yet that is why I feel so enthused and inspired by some of these sciences that I've been studying recently, like biogeometry and Ibrahim Karim's work, and all of these different people that are bringing the incredible wisdom of the past, but in a way that we can use in modern technology. Because I think what I've started to accept that I think has been freeing for me in many ways, because I'm generally the person that fights all the new ideas or like new technologies, because I'm afraid that it's going to delete all of the incredible wisdom of the ancient cultures. Yet I'm starting to realize that if I actually use this wisdom to actually bring it into the modern world and combine it with the technologies in a way that actually harmonizes and stabilizes our life force, I mean, that could be like the most incredible society, and we could truly bring back like a new era of love and sustainability. And I know it can be very idealistic sounding, and I try to stay optimistic as much as I can with all of the craziness in the world, but at the same time I really do think there's so many people I'm meeting right now that are truly in this process of awakening to like there's a better way. There's got to be a better way than this. Like whatever we've been doing, like let's use those tools. Let's not just like throw everything out, but let's move forward with like a more deeper consciousness that actually brings humanity back to it.
Absolutely.
And I think art is a huge part of that, by the way. Like I
Yeah,
think that's one of the biggest
absolutely. I
parts.
mean, for me, I think I am becoming more pessimistic with time,
Yeah.
especially if I'm real. Especially like I think what you're describing can exist in a community.
Yeah.
Like that's just me. I don't want to.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
I look at society, like bigger collectives and society as a whole, I have very little hope.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
might
I
have
get
to
it.
destroy ourselves like a couple of times and then rebuild, and then
Yeah, well,
it's a cycle. But
and the history keeps repeating itself, and it's funny because it's like I mean, it's not funny, but it's like literally we have no interest in learning our history, so we keep repeating
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
So,
That's why I'm realizing,
and also everything I realized that I've learned in schooling, which is a whole indoctrination system, most of that history is very incomplete or not even necessarily correct half the time, or it's just a half truth
of
because
course,
it's just very helpful to keep people in the dark about this stuff because then, of course, you can just use them to keep making more money out of keeping them enslaved pretty much. Because I think that's been a big part of it too. Like, as much as I am optimistic, there is this very real part of me that actually, I'm like, actually more inspired than ever to learn all of the dark bullshit that's been happening because for me it gives me faith that I know what I'm up against. I don't want to be in the dark anymore. Some people
yes.
enjoy being completely in the dark. It's like the ignorance is bliss thing. Like that's totally cool if you want to live like that. That maybe some people's soul contracts or whatever you want to call it, that's their soul contract for this lifetime. But for my lifetime, I feel like I'm just enthused by realizing, holy shit, this thing that I thought was true my whole life is actually completely false. And this is opening up a whole door of my own perception of what reality is. That now I think I can actually live a truer level. And I mean, of course, it makes me pessimistic a lot of the time, but at the same time, there is this weird like silver lining that gives me inspiration about the idea that, oh, okay, now I know what I'm up against, like this corporate greed and this kind of like idea that we're just going to keep humanity in the dark so we can keep enslaving them in a new system is very dark shit. But at the same time, like I think there's this awakening process. I keep meeting people, whether it's through my own resonance or whether it's just the consciousness that's starting to arise. There is this whole idea of the age of Aquarius and this kind of this new dawn of humanity, and who knows. Well, I mean, it's all an experiment, right?
Yeah, yeah. But no, we have to, it's like you say, we have to be aware and see the destructive, aggressive, greedy parts of
Yeah,
society and of ourselves too. Like, in order to
yeah.
integrate, in order to,
I'd love for you to speak about that more because I think actually I've been meditating on it a lot, and now you're kind of giving me context to what maybe why. But I've been thinking a lot about that whole. Actually, James is the one that brought me this book, the what is it? Dispelling Watiko, which is the Watiko is the idea of the basically the evil in the world or this kind of mind virus that takes over our consciousness and actually makes us think that we're not part of the oneness at all and that we need to like save all our resources and like keep it to ourselves because like that's the only way we're going to survive kind of mentality. But with that being said as well, I think a lot of people are stuck because they're not willing to see that the evil that they hate so much outside of themselves is
is
also
them.
within.
Yeah, but even, I mean, even calling it evil, for me at least,
Yeah.
already frames it in like I mean, a negative mindset, right? And
Yeah.
I would see it more so as like it's just a part of us and it's just a part of humanity and society.
Yeah.
And a lot of it can get very nasty and violent and destructive. But we all have, I mean, to me, it's back to Freud. Like I've been studying Freud, and it's like civilization is discontent. Like the more we are cultured, the more we repress. We repress our sexuality, we repress our destructive instincts, and it's repressed, but it doesn't. It's not. It's still there.
Yeah.
It's not gone, right? So it comes back in neurosis and psychosis in different ways,
Right.
and if we see it, if we acknowledge it, it doesn't mean that we act on it. Actually, the more we repress it, the more it's going to come out violently and blindly in different ways. But the more we acknowledge it, I mean, that's Jung too. Jung talks about it all the time,
Yeah.
like integrating the shadow in different language. But
Yeah.
the more we acknowledge it, we become sort of friends with it. We learn how to manage it, and and integrate it.
Well, and I mean, yeah, there's so many psychological tropes in that I just think is so important in right now, where I'm by no means like a fan of any of the politicians per se, but I have to continually do the practice of realizing that they're a part of me that's repressed that I need to actually
Exactly,
accept,
exactly,
because the only way that I'm going to get past me getting deeper into my own shit is actually taking responsibility and saying, how can I actually create the ripple effect in my own community or society? Why am I so obsessed with the idea that someone is going to save me? Because no one's ever actually going to save us.
exactly. And that's where I think like Trump, who's a very polarizing figure, and I have a lot to say about him, but one thing is like you see how many projections he's like
Yeah.
probably the most projected on
Oh,
figure
yeah,
in the
dude.
world, whether it's like violent hatred or pure admiration or like people thinking he's his god or he's the
Yeah.
devil or
Totally.
it's like he's such an object of projections.
He's
It's
like an
crazy.
obsidian mirror for like
Exactly.
society.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
No, it's true though. But yeah, no, I mean, well, and that really leads me to what I wanted to ask you as well. Like, especially in this age of modernity and information and Instagram and all these things, and where the music industry is at, like, what are some of your ideas of what needs to take place for music to become more whole again in the sense of the
Oh.
industry?
Oh, that's a great question. um, less greed, more loyalty. Loyalty is a big one. Um, listen, when arts and commerce like collide, it's gonna get messy no matter what.
Yeah.
And I realize that, I mean, we are in this capitalistic system and we have to exist in it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way out. But within that, there's many subtleties.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually when we internalize, when artists, like Rick Rubin talks about it all the time, but when artists internalize like the needs of the market, when we start thinking like A&Rs and like marketing people,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what like audience, what's our target audience for this album, and like
Yeah.
what's our whatever. Um, that's when they won, or that's when we lost our
Inner self. Yeah.
artistic center. It
Yeah.
has to be the other way around. It has to be. So for us artists, we're in a way in a constant battle of drawing a boundary against these forces of the market and the of capitalism and consumerism.
Yeah.
It's like we don't create products. This is not a product. This is not a
Yeah.
t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
art. It's something very deep
Yeah.
that works on many realms. And we have to remember that, and somehow it's not an easy task, like somehow always mediate like the reality of the outer world, because we can't completely ignore it.
Yeah.
Just make like a 4 hour ambient like one note. I mean, we could,
Yeah.
right? But um and at the same time maintain some sort of center and integrity
Yeah.
to this intuition that it cannot be monetized, and it's not a product, and it's not cannot be consumed in this like capitalistic sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's brilliant. Because I agree completely from my own experience, and I think what's inspired me a lot, even through our conversations, especially in the more recent years, as we've gone down these healing routes too. I think the more that we help people find their true center when it comes to their vitality and their health and taking care of their physical body and as well as their mental and emotional bodies, and really integrating themselves as a holistic system, I really truly believe that music can rise in a way that it never has up until this point, because, at least the narrative, as I had talked to people when I started having these visions, especially for all the stuff I've been creating of health for artists and musicians, that, that's never going to work. People thrive on drugs and alcohol and trauma, especially musicians. So, yeah, it's definitely, it's a trying thing that I think is going to be like super important in the future. But yeah, no, I mean, we could talk for hours, obviously. It's just like, it's so enlivening to talk.
We should.
We definitely will have to do another podcast.
We should do more.
Yeah. We'll definitely do more. I guess in closing out, 2 questions. First, where can everyone find you? Like, what's the media outlets that people can find you if they want to learn more about what you're up to and what you're doing and where you play?
Just on socials, Teller Who on Instagram, Teller on Spotify.
Yeah, that's ATELLER. And last little bullet question. If you were to put one thing on a billboard and you were going to die tomorrow, what would it be?
Whoa. One word, like one sentence, like one message on
it could be a couple sentences, but yeah, just like one message to people and to humanity.
Love.
Love yourself.
Just love.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, just totally. I like that. Just smiling, thumbs up.
Yeah, just being all sexy and shit.
Yeah. Well, I love you so much.
No, you remember that picture of you from like a few years back in the
the
wig?
That picture haunts me forever, dude.
That's on every billboard.
Oh no. Oh my god, dude.
So we should actually, I'll do it like on Photoshop real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, I need to have that. Well, yeah, dude, it's such a pleasure to have you, and I love you so much. And
love you so much, baby. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Looking forward to sharing more. And thanks everybody for listening. And talk to you soon. Whew. That was such an incredible conversation with Avishai. His perspective on music, healing, and the creative journey is something I know so many of you will resonate with. If you want to hear more of his music, you can find him on Spotify under the artist name Teller, and be sure to follow him on Instagram under @AtellerWho, ATELLERWHO, to stay up to date with everything he's working on. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, post it on your socials, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. There are more incredible conversations on the way with artists who are bridging the worlds of creativity, health, and transformation. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.